Hello and welcome to another PlanetDestiny exotic weapon review. Today we will be taking a look at the hand cannon, the First Curse. In the lore, it was given that name since it was a sister weapon to the last word. It was given that name because you utter some new curse unknown to the tongue of man every time you do anything with this gun. The intrinsic perk is called Deadeye, and it gives you a bonus to range, stability, and movement speed when aiming down sights. Sadly, the only thing noticeable on that perk is the stability increase. Why you would be hip firing this gun is beyond me though, so for all practical purposes, the perk is just there to make you have a god-awful time if you ever decide you really need to get off a hip fire shot. Moving on to the muzzle options, you have your choice between CQB ballistics, smooth ballistics, increased recoil, boost to range, and finally soft ballistics, less recoil, penalty to impact. When picking one of these muzzles to modify the absolutely horrible stats, I chose smooth ballistics. The CQB and soft ballistics reduce the range, which directly affects the aim assistance. Soft ballistics also reduces the impact. I know this gun has the highest impact among any exotic hand cannon, but since it performs so horribly, I want every shot to do the max damage possible, even if it's only 2 more points in PvP. Now is probably a good time to go into stats on this gun, or the lack of them for that matter. This gun has the lowest base stability and second lowest reload speed among all legendary and exotic hand cannons in the Taken King. You would think it might have the highest range stat to make up for this, but it's still middle of the pack. Even when using muzzle upgrades, it doesn't reach the top of the pack. The only stats that are the highest are its impact and aim assistance, so Bungie is at least giving the first shot you fire the highest probable chance of hitting the target for a ton of damage. Moving back into the perks, the first tier perk is Triple Tap. This works hand in hand with the namesake perk, which requires you to land precision kills. With the 8-round magazine, it ups your possible shots in the mag to 11 if they are all crits. So if you're patient with your aim, or your target just has a big crit spot, then you will have as many bullets in the mag as an unupgraded Hawkmoon. Moving on to the stat modded perks, we have the choice between Quick Draw, which allows the weapon to be drawn unbelievably fast, Lightweight, which grants +2 character agility when held, and finally, Speed Reload. Speed Reload is the only practical choice here, since the gun has the second slowest reload speed of any hand cannon in the Taken King. It needs all the help it can get. One could argue that Quick Draw might be viable for PvP if you plan on switching to this gun to finish someone off, but that could be said about any weapon really. The agility on this gun would be nice for trying to help increase your movement speed while aiming down sights, but the Deadeye perk just doesn't do anything to warrant trying to buff it. So go with the option that will actually affect the one thing that you will be doing a lot: reloading. The namesake perk will cause your precision kills while aiming down sights to grant you the First Curse buff, which increases range and stability until the next reload. So clearly this gun is trying to reward a skilled hand that can get precision kills. The problem is they forgot to put an actual reward in for getting that kill. The stability buff from the perk actually makes it pretty easy to shoot for the remainder of the magazine. The range isn't really noticeable though, since hand cannons as a whole had their range stat neutered in 2.0. The problem with the perk is actually 2 things. 1, if you get it to proc on the first shot, then at best you have 10 more shots with the perk active. Most of the time though, you'll have 7, since getting consistent precision shots out of hand cannons now is one of the hardest things in the game due to the way accuracy works on repeat shots. The second thing is that switching to another weapon gets rid of the buff. Yep, in PvP you could score that precision shot and then accidentally switch to your secondary to make sure it's reloaded, and then your buff is gone. Fortunately, the buff goes away once the new rounds are put into the magazine, so you can reload cancel by sprinting if you really want to keep that buff. The main problem with this weapon is its accuracy. I noted before that it has the highest aim assistance of any hand cannon at 90. This aim assist is really good for that first shot. The problem comes with the changes done in 2.0 to hand cannons overall. When trying to fire any hand cannon at its real rate of fire, you're going to start experiencing bloom in the weapon's accuracy. In layman's terms, shoot fast, bullets don't go where you point them. Now this is understandable in the faster firing hand cannons. The problem is it also affects the First Curse archetype where you can watch paint dry between shots. If you fire it without oversampling the trigger, your shots will become more inaccurate. You have to wait even longer than the gun says you have to wait to be as accurate as possible. In PvE, this is fine, since targets will generally have larger hitboxes and the threat isn't as pressing, but in PvP, it makes the gun only usable as a weapon to troll people. Why is this such a problem for the First Curse? Well, the entire point of the gun is to reward an accurate hand, but the weapon archetype as a whole cannot reward good aim because your aim is randomly thrown off not by someone else shooting you, but the background code saying, hey, he didn't wait an arbitrary amount of time to reset the bloom counter, make his shots go 2 inches to the left. The weapon just works against you in an unfair manner. The poor overall stats are unfortunate, but when looking at the weapon in a vacuum, it's still an interesting weapon that's usable. Once we throw in the 2.0 hand cannon changes, the weapon becomes the appalling thing that you see now. Sure, you get a good stability buff from the first curse perk. Good luck making use of it though, since you still have to wait for your accuracy to reset between shots. Anyway, I said my piece on hand cannons, back to the PvE portion of the review. These next sections will be a bit shorter since there isn't much else to say about the weapon after that tirade. For PvE, the first curse is close to being usable. The main things really working against it are its unbelievably slow reload speed and the simple fact that it's a hand cannon. There isn't a reason to use them when they suffer hefty range and accuracy fall off. Scout rifles do everything you would want a hand cannon to do, and with double or triple the ammo in the mag. The damage that the first curse puts out is good though. If you can make use of triple tap consistently and hit your shots as fast as possible, then it keeps up. Once you have to reload though, the other weapons will just jump ahead of them in damage. Switching gears to PvP, I actually like this gun, or what the gun could be. Its high damage output can lend itself well to a lot of engagements. As I've said before, its main problem is that it's a hand cannon. If those ever get fixed, then this will become a decent weapon, decent enough to actually use. The first curse perk in PvP doesn't really work out that well. At best, it will take you 3 shots to kill someone. If all 3 of those shots are crits, then hey, you'll have 6 shots to take use of that perk. The fact is that in PvP, you miss or you land body shots and you don't activate the perk, or you just reload and don't even get to use the perk, or you swap to your secondary weapon and deactivate the perk. You can see where I'm going with this. The other main thing to consider here is that there's absolutely zero reason to use this gun over Hawkmoon. Hawkmoon with aggressive ballistics does nearly the same damage with a better everything in terms of stats. In terms of cosmetics, the gun has the exact same model as the last word. The paint scheme is just changed up a bit. It also has the exact same firing sound as Ace of Spades. Fortunately, that does sound awesome, and the gun has a nifty gun flip that comes with all the Tex Mechanica type weapons.
You've shown your might, Guardian.
To end off this whole review, I see the idea of having the first curse buff also have damage increase component in it thrown around a lot. I don't think that's the right way to go about fixing it. I think the current buff it gives just needs to stack, so even more range and stability, and then add in reload speed there too. Right now, even if I use a full mag perfectly, I still feel like I'm being punished for reloading. Maybe make the buff last 5 to 10 seconds after reloading as well, so the buff doesn't work around that small magazine size. The fact of the matter is that First Curse is pretty close to being usable in PvE. If its slow reload was addressed in some fashion, then it could be an option for those that are into this archetype of hand cannon. In PvP, even if the hand cannons are fixed, I don't really see this being useful since the magazine size is just too low, and the time to kill is way too long even under the right circumstances. Banshee was wondering why this gun was forgotten, and its sister gun, the last word, was remembered. Well, I hope this review answered that question. This has been Patrick Casey with Planet Destiny, your guide to the Destiny universe.